I got great.
Hey, try taking this one up here, but try putting this light on over here.
How do you put that
The third one. Oh, there we go.
It's showtime.
Showtime on Monday, the 23rd, 24th. We're losing track of the days. On the 23rd, we had phenomenal rally. You're going to be hearing about our rally in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, pro-Israel, pro-American rally. And we have Suzi Gold, who was there. You were there.
Good morning. Yes, I was at both rallies. So one
That's
was
right,
Friday and one was yesterday. Friday was in Palm Beach, PGA Boulevard and Military. And then yesterday we were in Fort Lauderdale and we were at Oakland and US 1.
US 1, and there was one in the Miami area. It was gigantic.
Hallandale.
So
Yeah, it was in Hallandale, about 2,000 people.
you can put I-24 on, Mark, definitely. They're covering the stabbing that we're going to be covering. Unbelievable footage right now.
You know what's great?
Unbelievable.
Like here we are, there were many rallies, Orlando and elsewhere, and all around the country for Israel. And there's been great attendance and great participation from the entire Christian and Jewish community.
So Suzi Gold, Tom Trento Gold Show. And we have Jay Mark back there, Monte Cristo. We got great guests today. Out of Israel, we have our dear, lovely Jerusalem Jane, who's going to be reporting as to what's going on the ground in Jerusalem. And then Barry Shaw, our analyst from the Netanya area. He'll be coming on a little bit also in this first segment. Then second segment of the show, we're ending right around 9:55 a.m. On the East Coast, 4:55 in Israel. Second half, we're going to talk about you're looking at I-24 right now. We're going to cover this. This is a critical development. It's an indication of the problems still going on in Israel. Now, to a large extent, the Israelis who have been through this for
so for the latest details,
here we go.
Defense
Just check this
correspondent
out.
Daniel Tzemach is here in studio. This is the first security incident since Friday's ceasefire. Daniel, what details can you confirm at this hour?
Right, so we're talking about the area of Ammunition Hill. It's very close to East Jerusalem and very close to other flashpoints that have been tense in the past weeks. As you mentioned, the first extreme security incident since the ceasefire, but this area has seen a lot of tension even in recent days. Sheikh Jarrah is not too far away from there, which is, of course, one of the topics of conversation. We're talking about the friction between Israeli security forces.
The knife in a cop's back.
About a man who obviously was armed with a knife, stabbed.
No, they're showing it right here. It's even better.
As well as another Israeli civilian. Now, this is an area that has a very heavy police presence. It's close to the police headquarters. It's also near a light rail station, or even at the light rail station there, where there's always a presence of those security forces, sometimes private security there, to ensure that there are no extreme incidents or terror incidents, which have happened numerous times in recent years at these sort of light rail stops. So they were able to deal with the matter quickly, shooting and neutralizing, as the police put it, the attacker in this case. And from what we understand, those two are being treated at hospital with moderate injuries. And it does appear as though there are some reports indicating that this individual who perpetrated the attack was shot and killed. We'll wait to see whether or not this is a final sort of announcement. But this is certainly an extreme incident in the area that has seen a lot of violence recently, even though it has come in a period of, let's say, 4 days of relative calm in the capital.
And obviously this is a developing story, details emerging as time passes right now. But what more is known at this point about the attacker, if it was a lone wolf incident or if he is linked to any particular group at this point? What do you know?
Well, so this is something that's going to be of interest for the Israeli security establishment, because if this is someone who was influenced by incitement, if this was someone who was perpetrating this attack on behalf of a terror group, whether it be Hamas, whether it be another group, these are the questions that many people in general, common Israelis, are going to be asking, because we've seen what we've seen on the streets of the entire country, not just in Jerusalem, but in mixed cities throughout Israel, where it comes to violence between Israelis and Arabs, Jews, and Muslims and Christians. So these questions are obviously at the forefront of not only the security establishment, but also the public. We'll see whether or not this was a terror-motivated incident. It does appear as though it was a terror-motivated incident, but not necessarily with the support of a terror organization.
Daniel, stay with us. We've got lots more to discuss right now. Still with the story, we're joined by paramedic Elchanan Gigi from the emergency service Magen David Adom, and he joins us from Mevo Beitar. So Elchanan, you were on the scene, your teams were there. What more can you tell us? What details do you know at this hour?
Hi, good evening. I was there in the last 2 hours ago. We saw there are two injuries from stumbling in the back, two Jewish injuries. We give them medical treatment and then get them to the hospital in Jerusalem.
So we are hearing that 2 people have been taken to hospital, apparently in moderate condition. Give us an idea, when you're on the scene, how people in the vicinity responded. We've been discussing here in studio, the tensions have been high in recent weeks. Obviously, we all know the ceasefire only came into effect on Friday, a few days ago. How did people react when they saw that the stabbing had taken place on the ground there?
And unfortunately, it's not easy thing to see, and it's very hard to the people of Jerusalem and all the last few weeks. The situation, and unfortunately, it's not the first thing that we see in this place. There was a many time before stumbling at this place. So we said before, and I hope that we will not see it in the future.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you speaking to us, paramedic Elchanan Gigi. Appreciate
All right,
you.
this is a developing story, obviously, and no better way, Suzi Gold, to deal with a developing story than to go right to Israel. Let's go to Jerusalem right now, live in Jerusalem. It's 9:06 a.m. in the morning. Tom Trento here in the United West Studios in South Florida. We have J. Mark and Monty in the studio helping out, putting things together. Up north, we got Mary managing all the feeds and helping me handle the work in the studio is Suzi Gold. So Jerusalem Jane, how about it? Let's go to Jerusalem.
Happy to have Jerusalem Jane again. You know, she left the comforts of America to go live in Israel.
Denmark. She was in Denmark.
From Denmark, and went to Israel. You've been living there how long, Jerusalem Jane?
Oh my goodness, a long time. I started just coming here on a tourist visa, just getting a feel for the city and asking God, you know, what's my purpose? And now I have been here officially almost 6 years on a journalist visa. So yeah. So what happened today, you know, every time something like this happened, my heart just drops. And at the same time, it has happened so many times. I'm like, not again. You see this young soldier, he was 21 years old, standing, waiting for the light rail. I was there 3 days ago, passing by. Tom, you know where this is. This is at Ammunition Hill, just across from the big police headquarters. People are standing there. It's 1:30 in the afternoon, just waiting. You can take the train. You can also take buses. It's like a hub in that area. And all of a sudden, this, according to what the media is saying now, a 17-year-old female terrorist just runs up with this knife, and she just jabbed it in the back of 2 guys. And as you saw in the video, it's still in the back of this young soldier sitting there completely paralyzed. And then there are always heavily armed guards at the light rails now, because that's a reality here. So they neutralized her. They took her out.
All right, let's go right to Barry Shaw up in a little further north of Jerusalem, Jane. Barry, welcome to the show. It's been a busy weekend in Israel, but Jane's reporting that this is a female. I didn't know that. What happens when a female jihadi, they call it a lone wolf, better to be a known wolf. This is a jihadi from instigated by an organization or individual somewhere. What happens? We have on the screen a picture of the knife, and this is as tough as the picture is. It's normal treatment. They stabilize the knife so it doesn't do further injuries. They leave it there. because you're a nurse. Why do they leave it in there?
Yes,
Nurse.
not to cause further injury and wait until you get to the right medical attention and have a surgeon make sure that they take it out and that it's done in the best way possible, not to cause more harm.
And it's blocking the blood from coming out. Obviously, it's a bizarre situation. But Barry Shaw, what happens to the family of this young woman now that she's been neutralized, which probably means dead? Is she ostracized from the Islamic community in the state of Israel?
Don't be naive, Tom. The lady has gone to meet her 7 virgins to remember.
Yeah.
And her family are going to be rewarded by the Palestinian pay to slay policy, partly funded by the Biden administration. So everybody's hunky-dory over there. She's become a female martyr. She's gone to meet her maker. She'll get her 7 virgins and her family on the road to riches, thanks to payments of European governments and now reinstated by the Biden administration.
Now, Barry, are you being facetious when you say?
No, I may be facetious about going to meet her virgins, but I'm absolutely not facetious about the Biden administration. As I mentioned on an earlier show, you have to take this seriously. United West have to get involved in this politically. Is that the Biden administration have defied US law by giving money to the Palestinian Authority, knowing full well that they are going to fudge a lot of this money to pay for their pay-to-slave program. And that goes to either the Palestinian terrorists who have carried out terror attempts have been caught and sitting in Israeli jail, or they go to the family of what they call the martyrs over there. And if you think this stops just with the terrorists that have been incited by the Palestinian Authority, you're wrong. Because the Palestinian Authority are committed to pay money to every terrorist of no matter which allegiance they have. In other words, the Palestinian Authority pay money to their political rivals, Hamas, in their terrorists manage to kill or maim Israelis, as they do on a fairly regular basis. So although the Palestinian Authority are at war, literally, not just politically at war, but at war with Hamas and have been, all this latest violence, even the rockets really was spawned out of the fact that Mahmoud Abbas canceled the elections. And as I mentioned on another show, that actually they hate each other and they're using Israel and Israelis as the cannon fodder in their war one against the other.
A crazy situation. 2 groups, the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, Judea, Samaria, they manage that. But Hamas won an election, as we know, in 2006 in Gaza. They're the officially recognized government in Gaza, though they're a designated terrorist organization here in the United States. And Barry's referring to laws we have now, the Taylor Force Act. Taylor Force was killed with a knife in Jaffa. We were there just a few days after that happened. The Taylor Force law was passed by the US Congress, which said you cannot fund the Palestinian Authority if they're going to pay 17-year-old girls to go kill Jews, and then their family gets rewarded for that. But that's happening because Joe Biden, I think it was on day 1 or day 2, removed the executive order. It wasn't an executive order. Violated the US Congress's law that's in effect right now. That's how bad the situation is. Jerusalem, Jane, you live in Jerusalem. How have the streets been since Friday's ceasefire in Jerusalem?
Well, people are out and about. We are enjoying the calm, but for how long? Because look what just happened today. When are you safe? When are you not safe? It has been reality the entire time I've been living here. You never know when you leave your house. So that becomes just part of your life to be, you can't sit home and not do anything. You have to live your life. It's just a different reality. I grew up in Denmark. Everybody is safe. You can do whatever you want. But down here, like this, it's shift because of what we saw happening today. But people are out, the weather is lovely, the temperature dropped a little bit. People are out, they are shopping because what else can you do? You gotta live your life. You just always stay alert, and you definitely through this whole conflict, the police are very present here, especially around the old city. A lot more police, and they, because of what happened today, they are going to stay here.
It's amazing. Tom Trento here with Suzi Gold, 9:14 a.m. in the morning on Monday. Start of a phenomenal week. We have Jerusalem Jane with us, Barry Shaw. Jane, before we let you go, and Barry, we're going to come to you. We have a limited amount of time this morning because we have a big meeting we have to get into on all of this stuff right at 10 o'clock, 5 o'clock your time. So we're going to keep you guys with us for just a few minutes today. Jane, you had a remarkable development, I think, today occur in your life. Do you want to share that with the folks?
Yes, I haven't even told my mom. I haven't even shared it. But listen, I have been here 5 years now. God has blessed me. I stepped out in faith coming here because I could see how mainstream media was so anti-Israel and so biased. So I started blogging, getting more and more attention, more and more followers. And eventually I applied for a press from the Israeli government, and they looked into me and they said, yes, you qualify. And I had that for 5 years, and that's the max of that kind of visa. Then you have to, I applied for a new one, but you have to be approved by a commission. It takes a long time. Today, after 3 months, thank you, God, it was renewed, it was approved, one more visa for Jerusalem Jane. So I am so grateful.
Yay, that's great news. So happy to hear
So
that.
grateful.
With a national press pass like she has, press credentials, she's been in meetings with Netanyahu. She can go anywhere in the country.
I can even go to Gaza.
We'd advise against that.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
That's interesting. That's
Yes.
right. We should go there. We can be your team and go into Gaza. I don't think so, Barry. All right, Janie, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you.
Congratulations,
one
Jane.
last thing.
Thank you.
Jane lives on donations, folks. She has no income. She doesn't get paid by any publication. She's trusting God for donations. So you gotta donate to Jerusalem Jane. She had 1 million followers looking at her stuff last week, gained, I think, 8,000 new followers. How can people reach you? How can they donate to your great work?
It's very, very simple. I have a webpage, jerusalemjane.com. On top of that, there is a American tax deductible, and there is a PayPal. So there are 2 different options, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Not because it's about me, but because the Jewish people in the state of Israel deserve that someone is saying what I'm saying, simply speaking the truth about what's happening here. You don't see a lot of people doing that. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Also for Janie, she lives in a very secure place in Jerusalem, but the landlord is selling. So Jane, and she has a great relationship with the landlord, but he says, I'm selling the building, you gotta go. So she has to find new housing in Jerusalem. If anybody knows an apartment or a little side house or anything for Jerusalem Jane. Actually, if someone is in Jerusalem who has space, you can donate the space in an in-kind donation. You can contact us. We'll show you how to do that. But she's got to move. When do you have to be out?
1 month, July 1st. So the clock is ticking.
All right. Well, God has overseen your life every minute. You're a Christian woman standing for Israel. We need people to rise up and help you in Israel right now. Thank you, Janie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck finding space, and hopefully we'll get calls and donations and also some help in securing a residence for you.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much, friends.
See if maybe somebody could donate a house with about 6 rooms. And
then we can go.
Yeah, exactly. We got a place to stay without paying hotel bills. The hotel bills are going up. The airline bill, everybody's coming back into action. Barry, we have 5 minutes with you. Share with us the victory that the Hamas had in terms of being identified as the organization for the Arab street, and now they control, tell me if this is true, they control the agitation, the potential intifada in the future days in Israel. What's the situation with that? Versus
First, I want to tell you that Jane does a remarkable job. I don't know if she's still online, but she does a remarkable job. She's one of those individuals that really turns hearts and minds. But I want to tell you, Tom, we don't have peace over here. We have a ceasefire. The recent Hamas bombardments and the Arab rioting in Jerusalem and other places was basically a war between the wars. So we just have a ceasefire. We don't have peace. I'll give you an example, what you were talking about the Arabs. I don't know, you didn't pick up on this, but you know, today there was rioting on the Temple Mount with the Arabs. But it wasn't the Arabs against the Jews, and it wasn't the Arabs against the Israeli police. It was Arab against Arab. Don't you know that?
Mhm.
What had happened
Arab
over the
against
weekend?
Arab. How strange that
Yes,
is.
yes. What happened on Friday prayers is the Imam of Jerusalem, the Mufti of Jerusalem, who's in the pay of the Palestinian Authority, he failed to mention anything to do with Hamas or praising Hamas. So some of the congregation in the mosque went wild in that mosque, and they told him to leave. They were shouting at him to shut up and get off the pulpit. And what happened today, the Arabs who were supporting the Palestinian Authority against Hamas took on the Arabs who were supporting Hamas, and there was rioting going on the Temple Mount today after morning prayers between Arabs against Arabs. And I've said it on your show repeatedly, when they're not killing Israel or going after Israel, they're going after each other.
Unbelievable.
So it's better when they fight each other. They leave the Jewish people alone.
Yeah, but then it
But the problem is, Tom and Susie, you've got to be aware of this. That basically, we're stuck with an international community is doing what they always do, living in a fantasy land. And they think by appeasing unrelenting enemies, they'll change their attitude. We had this, eventually Israel relented to the international community and the toughening line of Biden and agreed to a ceasefire, when really what we were after over there is what we would look at as total victory. This campaign was really to do even the people living in Gaza a big favor, and that would have been to get rid of Hamas. We could have achieved it in perhaps another week. I want to tell you, there was a poll on TV that didn't surprise me, that Israelis were polled as to whether they agreed with the ceasefire, whether they didn't agree with the ceasefire, or whether some people are undecided. And the majority of Israelis, and believe this is after 12 days of over 4,000 rockets from Gaza, the majority of Israelis said, we finished the ceasefire too soon. The Israelis wanted us to keep going until we managed to eradicate Hamas. And when you think about it, Tom and Susie, had we done that, we would have opened up the way for a possibility of a new Middle East to get rid of an Islamic terror organization. Because what you've got here in Gaza is all the accoutrements of a state. The Gaza Strip has defined borders. It's bordered by Egypt in the south and Israel in the north and the Mediterranean in the west. It has its government apparatus in Gaza City, which is virtually its capital. It controls a population. In other words, it has all the accoutrements of state. So therefore, you have a terror state in Gaza. You could call it Gaza, you can call it Hamastan, or you can call it Palestine if they want. It's a state headed by an international designated terror organization. And yet the international community don't look at it like that. They look at it as we have to stop because it's best for the Middle East. No, it is not. They're making a same fatal mistake as these sort of international diplomats have been making for probably a century. It's the same sort of mistake as they made, for instance, when Britain, Chamberlain, went to appease Hitler. He went to Berlin and came back, if you remember, waving a piece of paper saying, peace in our time, right? And they allowed Hitler, for the sake of peace, to take over Sudetenland. And then they took over Czechoslovakia. And then he took over Poland. But they were convinced they were right in contraining Hitler and the Nazis. And it was really until the Nazis rolled across Europe and were on the other side of the English Channel and sending rockets into London, that they managed to get rid of the prime minister and bringing another one called Churchill, who was based in real politics and not delusional thinking. And it's the same diplomats who are doing the same nonsense today. They want to stop Israel doing what the international community, and that was trying to get rid of an Islamic terror organization, an international designated terror organization. And they're doing the same with regard to the corrupt Palestinian Authority as well. Giving them money as well to fund terrorism.
It's crazy stuff.
How can you expect a better world when the Western diplomats, the Western government think it's the wise thing to do?
You can't. I mean, the answer is you can't. Mark, you had a question, then I'll sum up this section, then we'll get to.
Real quick, Barry, I got one point of contention with you about your analysis. It is not a ceasefire. It is a rearmament period for Hamas. They have no intention to stop building and launching rockets.
Yeah.
That's my only correction.
Yeah. In fact, when the ceasefire was announced, all of a sudden the Hamas warriors, the fighters for Islam, come out in all their garb. They're marching in the streets, and somebody said the rats are coming out of the tunnels now. I had tweeted just before the war ended. I said, Bibi, call off the military campaign, the attack, as soon as you see Ismail Haniyeh, the head of the Hamas, wave a white flag. When he waves a white flag, it's over. Just keep demilitarizing them. But that didn't happen. You had a question,
and
Suzi?
finish them off. Finish Hamas off. But just a question, Barry, about what I wanted to know what your thoughts were about this quote unquote election for Abbas, and that he felt that he was going to lose to Hamas. Where does that stand now that Hamas has been weakened, not destroyed, but weakened?
Suzi, Hamas in the Arab world has not been weakened at all. They actually strengthened. Whatever slim chance Mahmoud Abbas thought he had, and he didn't have many, he can't go to an election anymore. Hamas is going to win. Hamas has won the hearts and minds of a lot of Arabs living under the corrupt Palestinian authorities. They look at them and championing their cause. They're even influencing a section of the Israeli Arabs, which is a dangerous thing. So I wanted to bear this in mind, and I want your international diplomats, the Anthony Blinkens and people like this, to bear in mind, where they're talking about a two-state solution on 1967 borders. Maybe temporarily right now, Mahmoud Abbas is shuttling off his mortal coil. He's probably going through his last days. But what's happened if they force Israel? I can't believe it. Because this is a project that we at the Israel Institute of Strategic Studies, we are trying to budget making a movie called 1967, where we want to show the world, and we hope to get a copy to you guys at United West to show. Because what we want to do is take you for a tour around the borders of Palestine 1967 with a camera, and you will see the other side of their border, and you will be shocked when you see what would be left of what I call the Trump state of Israel, living under 1967 borders, with Palestine controlling the high grounds and everything, and the streets, even to the streets across the street from the Jewish towns and houses in Jerusalem and other places. It's an impossibility. And yet Blinken and the State Department and your US Secretary of State, and also the United Nations representatives, this is the policy they will be keeping now. Blinken just said yesterday, he's coming to Israel and he's coming to say the only solution is a two-state solution. It absolutely is not a two-state solution. It's a solution to a disaster, because we would go to bed with Mahmoud Abbas and we will wake up the morning with Hamas. There is nothing that Anthony Blinken would do if they usurp power in Ramallah, which would be an easy thing for them to do now. So a two-state solution is going to endanger Israel even more.
All right, folks, you're listening to our dear friend Barry Shaw, an analyst, an author, John Guandolo, who's been with us on trips to Israel. who is a former Marine Force Recon warrior fighter, served in combat, then went into the FBI, helped design the teaching material after 9/11 to teach FBI agents about the Muslim Brotherhood and their modus of operation. He just sent me a note. He says, Israel appears to be suicidal. Instead of finishing off the enemy on Israel's soil, Gaza and the West Bank, they once again just smacked the enemy across the face and now going to give them time to rebuild and rearm. Exactly what Mark said. And rearm, refit, and come out again, probably within a few months. What a poo-poo show. But he didn't use the word poo-poo. What a poo-poo show. All right, Barry, we got to let you go. But what's your latest book and how can people get in touch with you?
Actually, my latest book, Tom, Suzi, you're going to love this book. I think I've got a book called A Tale of Love and Destiny. And it's a novel based on the life of a real heroine, a Jewish heroine, who led a major spy ring during wartime under the noses of the enemy. And the lady is called Sarah Aronson. She was a beautiful young woman who witnessed the Turkish slaughters, genocide of the Armenian Christians. And she realized that what they're doing against the Armenian Christians, they are going to do against the Palestinian Jews. This was pre-state Palestine, Suzi. This is about 1912, 1911, 1912, 1917, that sort of period. And she led a band of spies, both in Palestine itself, in Syria, and also in Lebanon. And they reported back to the British about the movement of the Turkish and German troops in the Middle East after Britain had opened up a third front in the Palestine campaign to drive the Germans and the Turks out of Palestine.
Barry, we got about 2 minutes, Barry.
Right. You should get this book because it's an amazing story and it really is a true story. Suzi, a lot of women have read it, have told me they were crying in the book because it's a very dramatic story, bit of a tragic ending. But everything I write about actually took place. The things that she did, the sort of stresses and strain she was under, as the makings of a great movie.
My book and read it. That'll be my weekend reading.
Barry has been going back and forth with Dan Gordon. And the final, I haven't sent this to you, Barry, but Dan's final remarks to whether or not he knew the story. He said, I know the story of Sarah Aronson and the Nikki spies really well. I actually wrote a screenplay about her 40 years ago. And at one point, Barbara Streisand was semi-attached to play the part. Unfortunately, absent Gal Gadot, the Israeli actress, superhero, all that, possibly even with her, there's not a chance in hell it could be made today. But congrats on the book, Barry Shaw. So Dan, congratulating you on this work. I want to read the story for sure. Barry, we'll be back to you this week.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Enjoy the book, Suzi.
Thank you, Barry. Thanks so much for coming on. We look forward to speaking with you later in the week.
All right, Tom Trento, 9:33 in the morning here in the studios in South Florida. Suzi Gold with me. Now we're going to go to something you've been involved in all weekend. And do we have Michelle up there? We have Michelle. Let's start with the video, short little video of me introducing. I got to the event, to the rally yesterday. I got to the rally yesterday, and we've been helping put our name and promote it. And as it's starting, Michelle Terris, who's with us, the founder of Jackson, she goes, oh, by the way, you're the MC. I said, okay. I grabbed the microphone. I've done it once.
Well, you did a great job.
I've done it once or twice in my life. So we're going to play just a short video giving you a feel, if you weren't there with us, for this famous corner in Fort Lauderdale.
Freedom Corner, and how we got started. And the woman singing, Hadass Levy, is a second runner-up in American Idol a few years back.
So she's got some pipes,
Mhm.
Let's start it with that, then we'll go to you and Michelle to tell us what took place and what it means. Michelle, first of all, let's bring Michelle up here. Where's Michelle Terris? Michelle, come on up, please. Michelle, Sophia, come on up. Karen, you over there? I got Sophia. These are the ones who are organizing this. Michelle and Karen are somewhere. Michelle and Karen are somewhere. Can't find Michelle. We're going to introduce them. Then we're going to have Hadass sing the Star Spangled Banner a cappella, right? A cappella. So we need it quiet. Tremendous time together. As you know, there's problems all over the world. I happen to be an evangelical Christian standing with my Jewish brothers and sisters. Any Christians here? Yeah. We have Sophia, Karen, and Michelle, the invisible Michelle. But Michelle over there, what are you doing over there? Come over here and say hello. Holy Michelle, come on. Live stream. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to this rally. We're standing with the greatest ally and friend that we have in the Middle East, shares our same values, core values and beliefs. We are fighting now the same enemy they're fighting. So we've got to stand together in solidarity for our Judeo-Christian world values together.
You're going to hear from everybody up here and a few others too. We got a full schedule for you today, but let's now take a moment and recognize this amazing country we have, sung by an amazing vocalist, a Jewish woman, Hadass.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last?
And she just delivers a remarkably beautiful rendition, without accompaniment, without instrumental, without anything. And
What a voice.
It was a voice.
Wow.
So Suzi Gold, you were there. Share your thoughts. We'll bring Michelle on and we'll draw some application and action steps from all of this.
Sure. It was a great event yesterday. There was I would say people were coming and going, and I would say we had around 300 people that attended on this corner, waving Israeli flags, waving American flags. And there's just a wonderful solidarity between the Jewish people and the Christians that were there for Israel and to support Israel. Horns were honking as cars were passing by. We sang, we danced, we were joyful for Israel, for a celebration and our common values that we share with this beloved country, Israel. And it was wonderful. The speeches were fabulous. They were short, they were sweet, and our MC made sure of that, where points were made. And you know what? Everybody was really arm in arm together, sharing in a common cause and a common beliefs.
And we have the founder of Jexit, the founder and president, Michelle Terris. Tell us what Jexit is, what it means, and why you wanted to organize this rally.
Well, I want to let you guys know something outstanding. I got so much feedback, people texting me all night long, 3 a.m. I was getting texts. Apparently that was by far the largest attendance on Freedom Corner ever. I mean, including all Trump rallies, all rallies on that corner. It was outstanding. And that really speaks volumes to me, because there were, we got several people that contacted us asking, is there going to be security? They're very concerned. One of my closest friends didn't even come because she heard of rumors of some agitators that would be there. But I got to tell you, the Fort Lauderdale police were there like just an amazing force across the street. They were plainclothesmen. We had all sorts of private security, and it was amazing because there were all ages, all backgrounds, all religions. It was outstanding.
You did a great job, Michelle. in organizing this and ensuring that it was going to be the success that it was. And I think, Jexit has done a phenomenal job. Here you are, you started this organization that is now known nationally, Jews exiting the Democrat Party, and the importance of that, because we see the Democrats that are in Congress it's a disaster that they are supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization. It's an absolute disaster that we have this within our country and within our government. And as shoot-offs, we now have Latinos. There was representation, Latinos exiting the Democrat Party, and blacks exiting the Democrat Party. So there's great support for those and an understanding of what's going on within the Democrat Party that's supporting terrorism. And so kudos to you and all the good work you're doing.
Susie, mentioning what you said about Lexit, and Jexit, so funny. Yesterday, cute, adorable Asian woman came over to me and she says, I want to start Asian Exit.
Yeah, so
I said,
That's
awesome.
great.
I gave her my card. But as far as Jexit goes, during the Trump campaign, here we had a president that was so pro-Israel, so pro-Jewish. He did so much for us. And Jexit's taken on a new front now, a new dynamic, because as a Jewish organization, we are, working with our Christian family, because, they're supporting Israel and Jewish, the Jewish people more than the American left now. So we have a big job to do and to get our message out there. Because of what's going on now, Israel's enemies are here on our soil.
Yes.
Well, the news agencies, some of the more objective ones, are reporting worldwide pro-Israel demonstrations, rallies all over the world over the weekend. Friday, tell them where we were Friday, and then Michelle, tell everyone what was happening just before our rally in Fort Lauderdale, what took place in the Miami area.
Yeah, so Willie G, for the past 5 years, he has held rallies on the corner of PGA Boulevard and Military Trail. It's became known as Trump Corner, and now it's still Trump Corner, but it's also DeSantis Corner, because we need to ensure that our great governor remains governor of Florida. That's why we have the freedoms here in Florida that other states don't have. And then Friday was dedicated to support of Israel. So that too was an excellent rally. It was well attended, and it's a great street corner where it's so exciting to me, because as all these cars are passing and they're honking in support, and truckers are honking in support, and anybody who passes, it's a wonderful thing to be waving a flag, standing for freedom, standing for America, standing for Israel, and having all these cars respond so positively. So yes, we're standing on the corner, but there are so many others that are waking up to what's going on in our country. So our presence, and everybody who's listening, make sure when there's a rally for America, for Israel, for Ron DeSantis, we make sure you're present, because there are so many that see what you're standing for, and they too join in. They may be in their cars, but they're joining in support also.
Now, that's really a phenomenal point, because we go there to make a statement, to take a stand, and you have friends, you develop friends, and you see people. So it's a very party-like atmosphere. It is a party. It's a party. And then we have great speakers. Rabbi New was there. The other rabbi, whose father,
Rabbi Schwartz,
fought with the Palmach. We're very familiar with the Palmach. We take people to the Palmach Museum in Israel. But when the cars pass and they're blowing their horns like crazy, you're impacting that person's life at that moment. They see that, they take a stand. So these types of rallies, plus they send a signal to the bad guys that we're not just sitting here. And a couple of days earlier, about 500 pro-Hamas demonstrators went through Meisner Park, a very upscale Jewish area in Boca Raton, marching and screaming and praying, and from the river to the sea, get rid of Jews in a Jewish area. That's a wake-up call, you would think. So these public demonstrations are critically important. What happened in the Miami area earlier yesterday, Michelle?
They had the Israeli American organizations do a rally. It was also phenomenal. There was, I think you've seen on social media, the airplane banner. It said, "We stand with Israel." That was amazing. I wanted to mention one other thing. We had Golani Mike at our rally and Commander M, a couple of former IDF soldiers, and you know a lot about Mike and his brigade. One of the great messages that he gave to all of us was that we cannot be fearful. We have to stand up, be proud, be strong, never be silent, because that's what they want. The enemy wants us to cower, to be afraid, to not come out. And his message was never be afraid. We're here. And he mentioned several different Israelis from different counties. They're here to help us. So we've got to unite with our Israeli American community as well.
Yeah, we have to, for our audience, at 9:45 in the morning, 4:45 in the afternoon in Israel. Tom Trento, your host, Suzi Gold, right here, co-host. We've had Jerusalem Jane on a bit earlier, giving us a feel for what was going on in the street. There was an attack, East Jerusalem by Ammunition Hill. A 17-year-old young jihadi girl went and stabbed two, I think they were police officers, and they may have been IDF, stabbed two of them. Knife went in one gentleman's back, and then the second one, the soldiers and police were on her, and the knife was stuck in his back. We saw those images earlier. If you've been doing this kind of work, you see those images. And then she was shot and neutralized, probably killed. And Barry Shaw, who was on, reporting from Netanya, told us that now her family gets paid to slay. You slay a Jew, you get paid, the family gets paid for the rest of their life. But what the Israelis do, this is broadcast in a twisted way by the media. What the Israelis do is they find the home of the killer, and what do?
They level it.
With bulldozers. They go through all the legal deals, but they say, you want to play to slay, you kill a Jew, you're losing your home. And those people lose their home, it gets knocked down. And that's the situation in Israel. But it's critically important at Hallandale. I think there were 2,000 people there. Critically important to take a stand to show the other side. So what's the plans with Jexit? What do you have, Michelle, coming up? Any events people can go to?
Well, interestingly enough, our team founded a new club because we felt that it was important now to move from the so-called Trump club and Republican clubs to try to appeal to some very, very disappointed and upset Democrats and independents based on what they're seeing. We feel there's an awakening. Like John DeLemby said yesterday, there's a great awakening going on all over the world. So we founded a club called America First Patriots. And I know the United West and all of our other coalition is going to be very instrumental in helping Broward not only expose the corruption in Broward, but to help to get great candidates that we can unify behind them. We got to unify with candidates that we know we can win, focus on the re-election of Governor DeSantis. And this club the inaugural opening event is on June 8th. So we're busy right after the rally. We're gearing toward that. Our keynote speaker is Scott Pressler and our spokeswoman, Siggy Flicker. And we just booked our Hadass Levy to sing the national anthem. And I'm sure that Cantor Siggy he sang yesterday also. He was a crowd pleaser. He'll be there. And it's exciting because we get a rabbi and a pastor, and we just, our events, people always feel that it's always, they describe it as like love and God. And how can you beat that? So we're going to really shake up Broward.
All right, beautiful.
That's great, Michelle.
All right, Michelle Terris, thank you for joining us. We have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle.
We have to go out a little early because we have a very big meeting with our team. And if you folks see us on on phones or computers. We're getting real-time information. People are listening, sending us information, sending videos from Israel, from the United States. So we're synthesizing all this stuff, sending it to Mark, put up. This is a live broadcast, but we're trying to be as up to date. We ran into one of our friends who watches the show religiously and says, very intelligent woman. She says, we're not getting information like this from anywhere. And they're not. We know what we're doing. We do it very well, and we need money.
Yeah,
so
we
why don't
need
you
money.
Take us out, not just on that, but sum up your feelings for the both rallies you were at, and what that means.
Well, I think it's wonderful that we have this unity, and that was expressed by these both of these rallies. And we need to continue, Jews and Christians, continue the work that we do together to enlighten others. We have to spread the word. And I think something else that's very important is know how to have the conversation. When it comes to Israel, when it comes to America and Judeo-Christian values, know how to have the conversation with those that don't really know what's going on. And there are many that don't. They just say, I don't listen to the news. It's very depressing. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. You have to be able to retort with something. You have to be able to say something to awaken them, because this isn't something like this war over there. It's not just over there. It impacts us over here. And we see that by these Palestinian, I don't even like to use the word Palestinian because there was no such thing as Palestine. It was Jordan. It was the Ottoman Empire. But you need to know these things so you can have the conversation. But we have that over here, and we have these Arabs that are marching in the streets, and we need to make sure that we are very aware of what's happening, because we are all in this together. We need to help. We need to help Jews and Christians all over the world. In fact, at this rally was a Haitian, and I asked, what is it that brought you here today? And he said, well, in Haiti, the only country that came to help us was Israel. And in fact, they named most of the children that were born during that time. They gave them the name Israel.
Oh, really?
Yes. And he shared his stories about Haiti and the help that Israel gave them.
You interviewed a bunch of people.
Yes,
yesterday.
it was wonderful. So in closing, this isn't a close. What this is really keep it going. Make sure that we all are present for any rallies, and make sure you know how to have a conversation with those that really aren't aware of what's going on.
And it does take money to
We need money.
do what we're doing here. So if you can find it in the kindness of your heart to support what we're doing, and go to the unitedwest.org. Don't be afraid if it says, these are bad people, don't go in. They're going to steal your computer. They're going to steal your children. All kinds of warnings from some internet service providers. It's complete nonsense, fake news. The site is very secure. You can donate on the site, or you can contact us. There's information on how to contact us if you want to donate through a donor directed, or you can transfer stock. But we need money to continue this programming, and we appreciate everything you do, but we got to go right now. So we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to try to figure out what time we're going to be on and what we're going to be doing in the future, because we weren't planning on doing these shows this particular way. The war threw us in it, but we'll know more during the course of the week. But we'll be here 9 o'clock every day this week. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow. Write a check. Send it to